Well, here we go now. It's time for your world's best motor racing talent to scrap it back out for glory here in the Lotus 79 around Oulton Park. The circuit released just about an hour ago. Welcome to the RaceBot TV commentary booth for Team Redlines. Real racers never quit. It's a tribute to motorsports legends. And from myself, Jonathan Simon, we welcome you to the coverage. We have Sunil Arora alongside me, and it's not Karun Chandhok Sunil, but it's someone who sounds an awful lot like him, and you've been in amidst of a lot of these broadcasts. We had a thriller last time out at Silverstone.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Yes, indeed, the last race was insane. The kind of action that these guys had was so fun to watch. Just carnage all around, and it made for quite an enjoyable race to watch. This time around, it should be a lot of fun as well. Oulton Park, in fact, is known to be one of the best driver circuits in the world. How these drivers control these incredibly challenging cars to drive, well, that should be one fun thing to watch, and especially knowing the fact that these are the best drivers in the world. The likes of Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Antonio Felix Acosta, and the others. Well, should be a crackerjack of a race.
Yeah, certainly. Oulton Park has so much history. It's a 4.3 kilometer circuit, 2.6 miles, depending on your units of choice. And we'll have a look at this as the drivers scream through the middle sector here around a circuit that speaks and encapsulates British history. There's copious amounts of elevation change, and we'll talk about the race formats in a few moments' time. But this circuit, Sunil, as I said, encapsulates a lot of British history, and it's had some history here in the past where Formula One has raced at this venue, but it was a non-World Championship event for all of those ones. We've had British Formula 3, the British Touring Car Championship, we've had Superbikes, so many more, and now we bring our real-world talent here virtually.
Yeah, exactly. That is the beauty of sim racing. These kind of circuits that you normally don't really assemble the best racing talents in the world. You can do that in iRacing, and especially with these Lotus 79s. When did you imagine that the likes of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris would be racing against each other in a Lotus 79 at Oulton Park? Well, certainly not me, and that is exactly what is happening over here. And this track, well, it was actually beginning in the 1950s. I mean, it was the Mid Cheshire Car Club that created this into a circuit. And what an incredible track they have created, with so much undulation, so much changes, so many corners with great camber on them, and over these years it has just developed into a more and more exciting car, and now it is turning out to be one track that drivers absolutely love to drive on.
Well, that driver there is not going to love it too much as they spin off heading through Knickebrook, one of the most famous corners at Oulton Park for sure. Now, this was voted amongst 4 other historic British circuits on Twitter, Sunil, so this is what the fans wanted, but when I looked at that Twitter poll, it was awfully close between the 4 tracks.
Yeah, it was, and Brands Hatch was also one of the main contenders for this one. Well, maybe next time out, but Oulton Park, in fact, is also quite a good track. We've seen so many good corners over here, and it should be fun to see how the drivers drive here. Well, maybe next time we can see the likes of Brands Hatch, but for now, we've got Oulton Park and some good racing waiting for us.
Yep, certainly. So this is the Lotus 79 on iRacing. It's a classic car, one of the most difficult to master on the iRacing service. And behind the scenes, Sunil, already, we're hearing our talent discuss with each other some of the drivers are in full cap saying you must do practice starts in this machine because we all learned our lesson from Kelvin van der Linde the other day.
Yes, Kelvin van der Linde's start was absolutely insane. What happened is that van der Linde came in with just way too much wheel spin. I mean, more wheel spin than you can ever imagine in your life. So the guy just kept on spinning his wheels, just didn't really go anywhere. Another car came in, plowed him through, and Kelvin van der Linde was in the sky enjoying a nice little airway, you could say, and Van der Linde had a disaster of a start. I mean, he could have won that race had he beat Max Verstappen, but again, if you have too much wheel spin in these cars will not leave you for granted. They are relentless, and they are actually very, very tough to drive.
Yeah, certainly. So let's ride on board here in practice. Let's gauge what this circuit's all about here at Oulton Park. This is Antonio Felix da Costa. He promised us to give us a run through during his qualifying outlap, but let's get a good look at this 4.3 kilometer venue. Well, that's not a good end to his lap there, Samil. So we didn't get the full run through of Alton Park, but this is the international circuit with no chicanes being used. If you're on the iRacing service, there are a multitude of chicanes to be used. That's a pseudo lap there from 2 drivers, but we have some similar race format to Wednesday evening that took place at Silverstone, and it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, this race format is actually quite entertaining. We have a short practice here, I think around 15 minutes, and then we do have a very, very rapid qualifying. Only 2 runs for each driver, so you have to make all of them count. So if you make a mistake in the first one, the pressure is all on you to make it count in the second one. After qualifying though, you have a quick race around 12 laps if I'm not mistaken, and after that, that result in the first race is extremely crucial, because where you finish in the first race is exactly where you start in the second one. No reverse grid, no qualifying before the second race. It is exactly the results of the first race that decide the grid for the second one. So not only should you have a good first race for the sake of the points, you must also have one for the sake of the second race. So finishing well in race 1 is going to be absolutely critical.
Yep, 100%. So I want to see if we can chat to Max Verstappen and Antonio Felix da Costa in a second. We're just getting confirmation. We don't want to interrupt them during their qualifying session, but these two have been lapping away as quickly as possible. Now, we have an immense amount of talent, like I said, Samil. We won't talk too much about Kelvin van der Linde yet because he's going to receive so much airtime throughout this event, but we have drivers such as Tom Dillman. Let's not forget the ever underrated Danny Juncadella, who's currently 4th on the timing screens. Here is Max Verstappen on screen, but one driver that I have been so pleased to see in the field is Robin Freins.
Oh yes, Robin Freins, the Dutch maestro. He is such a fun driver to race with, and so many drivers have said that he's hard, he's fair, but in fact he produces a good competition. And for the Dutch fans, he's not the only Dutchman out there to cheer for. So Robin Freins also on the grid. He's of course a driver for the Envision Virgin Racing team in Formula E. We ride on board with him, and let's just look at him sliding around over there. Robin Freins, he is having a jolly good time, and hopefully he has a good race as well, because it's not really his first. He hasn't really competed in the last round, so for him to get used to this car and this particular track in a very short pace of time is going to be a bit challenging. But again, he's a quality driver, and it should be fun to see how he works this out.
Well, I always remember Robin Freins because I've got a lot of Dutch friends, and they were raving about him as he made his way up through the lower formula, and he just never got a brilliant opportunity in Formula One. So you never know what will happen in the future, as we see the minty livery here of Danny Juncadella. A DTM race winner is Danny. Now, he's been someone, Samil, on the sim who I think's been very underrated. He's been always hanging there for the final podium positions. If he claimed a few more race wins, he'd get that elusive sort of publicity that he needs.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder why he's so underrated. I mean, Danny Juncadella, whenever you look at the end results of the race, you suddenly find him creeping up into the top 5, maybe top 3 at times. He is just Mr. Consistent on the sim pretty much, and in real life as well, he is actually quite a quality driver. So maybe recognition for him should be, the case. He's an incredible driver. Maybe if he can rack up a couple of race wins here and there, a lot more people will start to notice his true talent on the sim.
Yeah, most certainly. So let's quickly jump down and speak to a few of our drivers. So, hello guys, it's the commentary booth. We're live on air. We hope we're not interrupting during valuable practice time, but we want to gauge, who do we start with? Antonio, can we start with you? We want to gauge how this car feels around Alton Park for your first laps.
Man, it's a mixed thing between something super cool, but at the same time, it's so hard to get it right. Like, it's super pointy. But I feel like this car needs to be on the nose to be fast. Yeah, it's fun. It's actually fun. The track is really cool. It's a shame we're not doing the chicanes, but for racing, it's better, this layout.
And Lando, do we have you there?
Yeah, you do.
You are literally putting in your first laps at this circuit, I believe, because you've jumped into the session
watching
late.
Me closely. Yes, this is my my first outlap of the day, basically. So it's going to take me a while to get up to speed comparing to these other guys. That's my excuse for the rest of the whole day, the rest of the evening, by the way.
Well, you're looking comfortable here through the first few corners. And Max Verstappen, well, lucky last here. You are looking decent on the timing screens. Are you sandbagging
No,
so
no, no.
far?
I'm looking horrible. I don't know the track, so I'm just like trying to get some laps in.
Well, you see this corner here, you're just supposed to go full throttle.
Yeah, I'm trying, but it's still not working out.
We'll leave you guys alone. Good luck for the race.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
So those were Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Antonio Felix da Costa. We'll bring you words from them post race number 1 for sure. But Samil, great to have these guys racing in such a tough period in the world at the moment as they face this coronavirus global pandemic. But this is one of the few sports out there that can replicate the real thing, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, in fact, this is the time where motorsport actually grows, because all the other sports, your crickets, your footballs, your rugbies, tennis, whatever it is, you can't really play them at the moment. But for racing, well, you do have an alternative, so that's a good thing for motorsport. And I think this is exactly the time when this sport grows and reaches out to the masses. Not only to the car lovers, not only to the racing lovers, but also to the people who like gaming as well. So it works out well for the sport. Now though, we're riding on board with Filipe Drugovich, and he won the last race the last time out at Silverstone. So the pressure isn't really on him. He has to live with the last time out, but it should be fun how he can replicate his last performance here today.
Can I also mention something about last race? The best pass I've ever seen around the outside of Stowe by Antonio Felix da Costa. That deserves to be on whatever overtaking highlight reel there is for motorsport this year. Sim racing or not, that needs to be on there.
iRacing, come on, if you're watching, put this in your top moments of the week. This has to be there, for sure. Definitely. And also that move Jordan Pepper made, I think, down the inside of Magnus, Beckett and Chappell. They were going 3 wide, and Jordan Pepper just went, okay, I have a little gap. Hello guys, how are you doing? And he just sneaked past 2 drivers in one place. So, incredible racing there.
Well, this is Kelvin van der Linde on screen. And he is... proved to me he might be one of the best sim racers I've ever seen, based whenever I watch these Real Racers Never Quit broadcasts. And he's going to end his final practice lap on top of the timing screens for practice so far with a 1 minute 16.2. The track temperature out there is 42 degrees Celsius track temp. And Samil, the way it works on iRacing, if you're new to this service, welcome along to the iRacing simulator. The hotter the track temp, the more slippery are the conditions. So if it gets colder for qualifying as we switch sessions, we should see those lap times drop.
Yeah, exactly. That is when the tires get into the optimal temperature, and that is exactly when the cars grip the most and the drivers go the fastest. So as and when the track temperature rises, the drivers will be slithering around a lot, and with this car, it's going to be extremely challenging, because if you lose control with the Lotus 79, it can turn more unexpectedly than one of Shane Warne's leg brakes. This car is really a handful, and getting it into control, especially with hotter tire temperatures, that's going to be some hard task.
Well, I'm glad you brought up some Aussie cricketers there, so thank you for the analogy. Let's quickly flick down. You know what? I might actually drag Antonio Felix da Costa up here because he promised us an outlap. So let's bring him in. Now, Antonio, we've dragged you into the commentary booth. You promised us the world's best outlap here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to tell you guys the trick. The thing is, like, with this car, and I hope I'm not trying to... The thing is, like, I need to... You cannot push 100% on the outlap because these tires only last a lap, you know? So trying to look after my tires a little bit, but you cannot go too slow, because if you go too slow, then you won't be ready for turn 1. So it's a little bit of a compromise using the brakes, and I know it's insane, like how realistic it is. This is something I'll do on the real life, but that's the truth. Like, this game is up to that point where it's so realistic. So I'll probably really push on the last corner only. But yeah, trying to...
The tires become, sorry to interrupt, the tires become like ice, don't they, if you spin them too much?
Oh mate, that's the worst you can do. So like, this corner normally is going to be 4th, like barely on the brakes, and now I went down to 3rd just not to use my tires too much, because they only just have 1 lap of life in them. But yeah, if you spin, you overheat them, and then it's so in the race it's going to be this compromise between having them on the right window of temperature and not oversleeping them.
Well, we'll leave you to it now to end the lap, but I'm sure you wish you were back in Formula E dealing with this beast over here. But good luck for qualifying.
Thanks.
And That was Antonio Felix da Costa. Let's keep riding on board with him here to begin the lap. Let's see the pressure we put on to the Portuguese driver. A lot of correction there, Semil, through turn number 1.
Yeah, it's a really frantic car, this one, and getting it right is super challenging. Antonio just spoke about how tough this car is to drive, and we can just see it live with the way he's driving. It's an incredible track. I mean, the way the undulations come in, the way the corners flow through. I think it's about time we just sit back for 2 minutes and enjoy this lap.
Oh. Oh, he's nailed the final corner there. Lodge corner as it's known, and then through the D-Elite to end his lap. That was a 1 minute 16.8 for Antonio Felix da Costa. There are the times coming in to the leaderboard for the first time today. He's already bumped down to the 6th position by Dennis Marshall, who's jumped ahead of him onto the 3rd row. Kelvin van der Linde, not the best lap to begin his run. He's only 4th so far. But how about Danny Juncadella with the 2nd best time of the day, the best in qualifying so far, a 16.3 on the first lap.
Yeah, that was a flyer of a lap, and Canapino as well, only around 2/10 behind him, so the competition is really heating up over here as we now see René Rast trying to set in his lap. He is a fast driver, René, of course, the DTM champion in 2017 and 2019, so expect some fireworks from him as well, but we should now see some more drivers setting in their laps, and this is when the competition really should be heating up.
Now, if you're new to sim racing, welcome along as we ride on board with René Rast here to end the lap. Well, we don't ride on board, but we watch him end the lap. Now, this is a private qualifying session, so you won't see any other drivers out there unless we focus on a particular man. So this is René Rast, and he'll be able to lap away without traffic. Now, we see some further times coming into the boards. Kelvin van der Linde completes his qualifying session, and only 2 laps allowed. He will start no greater than 2nd.
Well, that was a good lap by Kelvin van der Linde. I mean, having a front row start for him would be an absolute delight. Now it's Tom Dillman on the charge for his qualifying lap, and we know that he can be an absolute beast at times. Where has he gone, Tom Dillman? Well, he seems to be stopping in, but we haven't really seen his lap times anywhere in the top 12. So, may not be the best of laps, but now we have Francesco Castellacci setting in his lap time. A Ferrari AF Corsa driver in WEC. He knows all about handling tough cars, and this car at Oulton Park, well, that's the dream combination. And Max Verstappen, I guess, has now clocked in a lap that sets him in P10. So that's not really the best first lap for him, is it?
Well, he's been spending too much time racing in the Supercars E-Series. He had a splendid result with a couple of podiums on Wednesday evening here. That's certainly been a thrilling series. We hope to have him back for Mount Panorama next week. That is qualifying almost over. There's a couple of drivers still out there, but I think they're completing practice starts. So everybody's really completed their 2 runs. Now, we will not look at the grid until qualifying is officially over in about 2 minutes' time, because we can't, just the way the graphics work. But some other stuff, if you're new to iRacing and new to sim racing, Semil, is that these cars coming across the line, we've discussed this previously, but I can't stress enough. The wheel spin is basically a race killer, and the tires turn to ice, just like Antonio Felix da Costa discussed.
I mean, ask Kelvin van der Linde about that. He literally has seen his race being ruined exactly by the wheel spin just on the first lap. It can be such a big mess. So handling that at the start is going to be absolutely critical, because if you don't, you may have a terrible start. You may lose a lot of positions, and if you're extremely unlucky, you may see a lot of drivers coming in and bumping you, because remember, Oulton Park is in the widest circuit in the world. So you may see drivers going very close by towards the start, and if you have wheel spin and if somebody bumps you in, that's your race gone in one shot.
And this is what's known as Shell Oil's corner. So turn number 5 here at Oulton Park. And that's going to be one of the best overtaking spots. Now, because we don't use the chicanes, we skip that little Britain's chicane on the left-hand side. We'll skip this little turn 10-11 chicane here where Hislops is normally located. We head straight through to Knickerbrook. It's an ever dangerous corner in the real world. And now here's the final sector at Oulton Park. This is where you need to begin to form up, because Druid's Corner here, whilst it's so fun to drive, there will be an immense amount of dirty air and traffic to deal with during the race. And then this is Warwick Bridge, and then Lodge Corner for turn 16 to end the lap here. Now we've had, oh Jesus, goodness me. Thankfully, Samil, for that accident, the car will be repaired in a minute's time.
Yeah, thankfully for us, but that may not be the case in the race, because as we saw last time out, the damage will be on. And if anything, if last races are anything to go by, this one is going to be spicier than a habanero chili pepper. It's going to be exciting, it's going to be intense, hard, and in the end, a lot of fun. So these drivers will be driving at a very narrow track. Should be fun to see how they work this one out.
So now as we switch through to the race, it will be a 13-lap event. It's capped off at 30 minutes, but we won't reach that 30-minute margin. It's time to look at today's grid for that 13-lap heat event. So it's Danny Juncadella. I talked about the DTM race winner being so underrated, and the Spaniard starts on pole ahead of one of the best sim racers in the world right now in Kelvin van der Linde. Thank goodness he's finally knocked off the top spot. He just can't stop winning, can he? On the second row, it is Franco Colapinto ahead of Augustin Canapino. That's a bit of a tongue twister trying to say both those names on the second row. It's Jordan Pepper and Bent Viscal to start behind them, followed by Dennis Marshall and Felipe Drogovic, who will round out the front four rows. Da Costa and Verstappen will start from 9th and 10th. Verstappen said he's struggling in this car so far in practice, and we'll see whether or not he gets accustomed to it throughout the rest of the race. Richard Westbrook, Lando Norris rounding out the 7th row, and we'll cycle through the rest of the grid. It is a 29-car field of motor racing talent, and it's going to be a rolling start for today's event, thankfully. And for Nicholas Hamilton starting at the back of the pack, Samil, it means less of a chance to make up positions on the opening lap.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit challenging to make up so many positions on the rolling start, but again, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have a good race. It's going to be exciting, it's going to be fun, challenging for the drivers, definitely, because Oulton Park, it's tight, it's twisty, it's almost serpentine in nature, but still it's a lot of fun to drive. So whether you can make those bold overtakes over here, well, that remains to be seen. But as for all we know, looking at the talent, looking at the track and this car, it's going to be a thriller.
So the Lotus 79 was a car designed by the late Colin Chapman, one of the greatest designers and engineers in Formula One history for sure. And we'd also like to give a quick acknowledgement of the death of Sir Stirling Moss, who unfortunately passed away during the week, who hands down, Samil, by far an absolute gentleman, and in my opinion, the greatest Formula One driver to never win a world championship.
Absolutely, Sir Stirling Moss, what a legend of the sport he is, and I believe that he is much more than just the greatest driver not to win a world championship. An incredible character. Many who met him, many who knew him say that he was such a gentleman, such a person who loved motorsport from the deepest corner of his heart, and it's so sad to see legends like this go. But again, I think this race is in honor of Sir Stirling Moss, and it would only be fair if we produce a good, hard, fair race to honor the great man who once lived a life full of motor racing.
Well, here we go now, ready for 13 laps of action. The second race later today will also be 13 laps too, so look out for these drivers. Learn their lessons from whatever goes right and whatever goes wrong here from Oulton Park to begin the race. It's Danny Juncadella who will get our field screaming away here for the beginning of the event. We go green from Oulton Park for Team Redlines. Real racers never quit. Oh, and Juncadalla's run wide there at turn number 1. That's going to open the door for Kelvin van der Linde to slot himself around the outside. They head to the Cascades, but there's no grip around the outside there, and he's going to fall foul to that first position.
Oh, Juncadella, I mean, it went horribly wrong for him at the start. He just went wide, but still maintains the lead as we now ride on board with Kelvin van der Linde chasing hard for that P1 slot. Thankfully, unlike last time, van der Linde has a good start. Doesn't wheel spin a lot because of the rolling start, but again, he's on the chase, just a bit too far from Juncadella to try and make a move, but he will be coming up soon. But now we see an accident going here between car 21 and 33. Who's that? Oh my goodness, this is a major accident. Tom Dillman involved.
A car on its roof there at the start. Couldn't quite see who that is, but we saw Tom Dillman involved. And, and goodness me, that's, I think they spun into the space-time continuum. We're never going to see him for another 50 years, I don't think, as the lead battle continues here for the rest of the first lap. I did see Augustin Canapino also just cycle down through the timing screen, so issues for him on the opening lap, but as the first lap ends, it's Danny Juncadella from van der Linde, Jordan Pepper in third, Colapinto in the fourth position from Viscal, Antonio Felix da Costa with a move here up the inside for sixth.
Well, this is turning out to be some really fun racing over there. We saw drivers realizing that 2-into-1 doesn't go here at Oulton Park because this track just isn't wide enough, and now Antonio Felix da Costa is under some serious pressure. Now we ride on board with him, we look back behind, and this is turning out to be some incredible racing. They're going nose to tail pretty much. Antonio Felix da Costa under a lot of pressure by Felipe Drugovich. Now we ride on board with Lando Norris, who is in P15, and look at that, he's got a broken front wing.
So issues for Norris, and there is that broken front wing on the left-hand side of the screen. It's going to cost him an immense amount of straight line speed. He started the race from 14th, so far not been the best of starts for him as he's been involved in some incidents. And have a look at the battling ahead here. It looks like Jackson Evans is being hung out to dry around the outside by Alex Buncombe. This is off camera, and these drivers scream through the middle sector, but good to see them still fighting away. A bit of a four-wheel drift as well up ahead.
This is turning out to be absolutely intense. I mean, we knew that we were going to watch some good racing here at Oulton Park, but this good, well, this is turning out to be a crackerjack. Felipe Drugovich now chasing hard for that P7 spot with Max Verstappen right ahead of him. Wow. Both the orange cars battling it out against each other, but who is going to be the one coming out on top? Remember, both these drivers won a race apiece in the last round, and these two drivers certainly know how to drive the Lotus 79. Now going nose to tail, this could be a chance for Felipe Drugovich, or is it? Not quite. Verstappen still ahead.
No, well, Verstappen's actually claimed that position from Drugovich, so Verstappen's the one now, as you said, Samil, has got to defend this time out as we ride on board with the Aston Martin Red Bull Racing driver. The slipstream effect in these cars is so strong. Verstappen on the defensive, heading into Knickerbrook.
Oh, this is turning out to be good, and it gets done, I guess. Is that... Yeah, was the move made? I'm not very sure. No, Verstappen still in P7. So there was some good defending by Max Verstappen there. It got really hairy for him at one point of time. But Verstappen knowing his lines, knowing how to defend, and keeping hold of that 7th place. But now we see a move for the lead. Oh, this is getting really exciting over here. So Danny Juncadella and Kelvin van der Linde, this is turning out to be intense. And now we see another driver join this pack. This is Jordan Pepper.
How about Jordan Pepper, who started the race on the 3rd row and is now up into P3, and he's just biding his time behind these two who are almost identical on pace. And how about this up ahead? It's Kelvin van der Linde all over the Spaniard as they head alongside each other through Island Bend. How has he made that work? He's now going to have the inside into the camber turn 5, and he's forced Juncadella into the barriers as they make contact.
Oh, poor Danny Juncadella. I mean, he was doing such a good job to defend that position. He was in the lead. We now take a look at the replay. Now you will see a wild Kelvin van der Linde appear out of nowhere. That was some incredible racing by van der Linde until the two collided. Look, he got tapped from behind and bang into the barriers, and his front wing is gone pretty much. So Kelvin van der Linde moving into the lead, not exactly in the best of fashions, but again, he's got the lead, and now he's under some tremendous pressure from Jordan Pepper, who's adding some salt and pepper into this race. He's making it spicy.
How about that? I'm not sure if these are intentional drifts or not, but oh, even through the exit is van der Linde skating that Lotus 79. Oh, it's so beautiful that this car is on iRacing, and
Indeed.
you see the lead battle in 1st and 2nd. How about behind? Bent Viscal also having to defend from Franco Colapinto. After Augustin Canapino had issues on the first lap, he's allowed these two to scrap away here. Here's our Formula 4 Spanish champion from last year. He's taking his talents to the simulating world.
Oh, look at that. Bent Pascal going slightly wide there, just getting a bit of grass on his tires.
Oh.
And now this could be a chance for Colapinto. Pascal is just sliding around over there. Oh, this is turning out to be a lot of fun. Bent Pascal in P3 having a bit of a nervous moment over there, but still he fends off Colapinto. And Jonathan, this is turning out to be absolutely superb.
This is the beauty of virtual racing. It's 5:30 in the morning here for me in Australia, 1:30 for you. I don't feel a glimpse of being tired right now as one of the lap cars will get out of the way there on the right-hand side. And I just enjoy this. I can't remember. I just forgot that I've been up for so long right now, just trying to get excited for this event.
Absolutely. And for those who say that racing isn't the best sport in the world, come on, think again. It is the best in the world. The kind of excitement that it can give you, even virtually, it's unparalleled. Now we see Max Verstappen under attack. He got that position, as you correctly mentioned, that is P7, and now Verstappen under some serious pressure from Felipe Drugovich.
And somehow he runs it wide onto the grasscrete. Drugovich had to back out there as Verstappen held the racing line. But if you're wondering how Verstappen held that, well, watch the replay. There is an abundance of grasscrete there on the outside, Samil, which gives the Dutchman an incredible amount of grip. And there you can see it. He's able to keep that car on the tarmac with a bit of speed.
Max Verstappen just saved there by that grass a little bit. He didn't slide around, thankfully maintained that position for him and for all his fans. But we see a car going wide on the exit. Is that Colapinto? Oh, Colapinto's lost positions.
And that will hand the fourth position to Antonio Felix da Costa. And this is off camera, so there is Colapinto into the wall at the same spot that Spaniard Danny Juncadella found himself in. Now, behind the scenes here, I'm hearing word that Max Verstappen and Felipe Drugovich have made contact. And Drugovich he could have terminal suspension damage. So this is off camera for the moment, but Verstappen looks clean so far. Let's have a look at the replay here. This is the number 15 is Drugovich, and we're riding on board with him. So let's see what happens here. This is approaching Knickerbrook, turn 12. Oh, was there
Just
contact
got pushed
at all?
wide, and that's a big accident. So Felipe Drugovich and Max Verstappen, they're going wheel to wheel pretty much, heading into that turn right-hand corner over there, and they were pretty much side by side. Drugovich had the edge, and then what happened is Verstappen, he got turned in pretty much.
No, you
so
can't.
Drugovich trying to take the exit, and Verstappen holding his line. It just didn't end well. As we all know, at a track like this, 2 into 1 just doesn't work well.
I mean to laugh because in real life, that's a trip to the hospital. In the sim, goodness me, that would have been a thrill. And, oh man, have a look at this as well. Antonio Felix da Costa. Oh, he might make this move work as they head to Druid's Corner. He does! The Portuguese driver straight through and up into your provisional podium positions.
What's it with Antonio Felix da Costa and making some absolutely insane moves? I mean, the last time we saw at Silverstone, the kind of overtaking that he did, well, it's safe to say that Antonio Felix da Costa, among all the other drivers over here, just has that little bit extra bit of guts. I mean, he just sees an opportunity and he's like, come on, I'll go for it. What's the worst that can happen? And Antonio Felix da Costa is now in P3, but this battle over here is getting exciting as well. Kelvin van der Linde and Jordan Pepper, both the South Africans in P1 and P2. Antonio Felix da Costa in third, Bent Pascal in fourth, with Verstappen in sixth, Dennis Marshall in sixth, Harry Tincknell, the endurance racing driver, in seventh, and Sasha Fenestras in P8. And Jordan Pepper, if I'm not mistaken, is closing up just a little bit more. So van der Linde under some really good pressure from Jordan Pepper, with I think around 5 laps to go.
So let's paint the picture for the rest of this race. Van der Linde leading, as Samil just discussed. And he's got his work cut out for him as they take a very, well, it's by far not a shallow line through Knickerbrook. Try to use the camber there to fight for this first position. But these are the two drivers fighting for what is potentially the win for this race. And the last time this happened between van der Linde and Danny Juncadella, it ended in contact. And for the Spaniard, he finds himself down the order and still recovering after that hefty incident. So these are your top two. For the third position, the scrap continues between Antonio Felix da Costa. You can just see him appear on screen there at the apex of one. He's fighting with Bent Viscal and Max Verstappen. So that's your top five. And there are 5 laps remaining officially. I have no clue why I keep looking on camera, Samil, and off camera. And every time I look back on screen, there seems to be a car at a part of the circuit where they're not supposed to be on.
Yeah, that just seems to be the narrative of this entire race. Drivers just going wide, just going off track. And with such a difficult car and such a tricky track as well, you kind of expect that to happen. I mean, unless you have a lot of track time, you can't really nail it down. But one guy who's actually nailing it down is Bent Viscal. This could be his chance for taking a move on Antonio Felix da Costa. Oh, they get really close. Da Costa on the dirt a little bit, and Bent Viscal is now chasing him like a madman. This could be his chance to get into P3. Remember, 4 laps left in this race, and Bent Viscal wants that place. He's getting really quick over here. Da Costa defending well too, and Antonio Felix da Costa, just as well he can attack, the man knows how to defend as well. So Bent Viscal facing an uphill challenge over here.
Yeah, certainly. So Van der Linde's going to cross the line, and he's going to have to lap Will Stevens, who once raced in Formula 1 too, don't forget. The brilliant Will Stevens. And here's your battle for P3 continuing. We're just watching it for a second there between Viscal and Antonio Felix da Costa. Here is Will Stevens getting straight out of the way of these two at what is one of his many home circuits. You can see at the bottom of the screen a Formula 1 winner too, Samil. He's got plenty of experience in terms of dealing with traffic.
Yeah, pretty much. And Will Stevens, I think he just gets, well, degraded pretty much because of his F1 career. But again, we need to remember the drivers outside F1, there's a wide world around. And Will Stevens over there in the endurance racing world is an absolute legend. Bent Viscal now on the chase once again of Antonio Felix da Costa, trying to use the slipstream. He goes around the outside. This could be his chance. They're side by side. Bent Viscal puts his nose ahead, and as he got it done, safely through, and Bent Viscal is into P3.
Oh, but look at the Portuguese driver of Antonio Felix da Costa here. Only separated by a matter of inches. A lap car of the way causes contact. And there is Antonio Felix da Costa into the wall. And that will most certainly be an incident under investigation behind the scenes that looked like it was Ferdinand Habsburg Lothringer, who was in a stricken part of the racetrack. Here's the replay. And it was difficult to see through the trees there, but I'm sure we'll get a better angle. But Samil, that in real life could result in you losing your motorsport license.
Easily, definitely easily. And Jonathan, the one sad thing about this race is that whenever we're seeing a good battle brewing up, we always see someone or the other crashing past. So, I mean, we're seeing some incredible racing here, drivers going side by side and daring to go side by side, just as Max Verstappen is trying to now. But whenever something has happened, one of the other drivers has crashed. So that's one sad thing. But let's keep that aside. Bent Viscal, Max Verstappen in P3, and the guy has had an incredible race so far. He started all the way back and he's come to P3, and Viscal is now trying to make a move. Both the Dutchman, Viscal tries to go around the outside. This could be his opportunity on Verstappen. Not quite. Max Verstappen defends well.
I'll tell you what, the Dutchman of Verstappen has some of the best racecraft I've ever seen in motor racing. It reminds me of an early Lewis Hamilton when Hamilton was a rookie, you know, in Formula 1. Even his GP2 and Formula 3 days, it was like he still had that Carter's mentality. And Verstappen, who last Cartered in 2013, has still got that mentality when he races, and I absolutely love it. And I hope it never leaves him as he races and gains more experience in Formula 1. He has to go defensive here through Old Hall Corner, as it's known. And then through to the Cascades at turn 3. We've got a couple of laps to go here. This is the penultimate trip around Alton Park, Samil, and the racing continues for not only the final podium position here, but for the lead between Kelvin van der Linde and Jordan Pepper.
Yes, Jordan Pepper on the prowl for Kelvin van der Linde. Of course, both these drivers incredibly underrated in real life. And the sim, well, they are dominating this race. 1 and 2 at the moment. Both South African drivers doing a tremendous job. But now for Jordan Pepper, this could be his chance to get a win. He closes in just a little bit as we approach the 50-meter mark. Well, he's still not close enough. He gets a good exit, Jordan Pepper. Could this be his opportunity to get into the lead? Well, seems like it is getting ever so closer by the inch, by the second pretty much. Jordan Pepper is gaining on Kelvin van der Linde. But van der Linde too, he is a smart driver. He knows exactly where to block his lines and to say to Jordan Pepper, no Jordan, not today, maybe some other day. Well, not a lot of time to go now. Oh, Jordan Pepper slides around. This could be his opportunity gone.
Oh. How about that for Pepper? I'm going to ride on board with him for this replay and have a listen to it. Oh, goodness. I couldn't help but talk over that. Pepper now has released the pressure from his fellow South African van der Linde. And the scrap for P3 looks like it's eased off in that camera shot. Verstappen has a comfortable advantage ahead of Biscal. And throughout the rest of your movers and shakers through the field, it seems to be remaining stagnant. But I tell you what, off camera, I'm watching Antonio Felix da Costa. He is bringing home a stricken Lotus 79 that would be written off any day of the week. I don't know how that car is drivable, to be honest with you, but he's somehow going to bring it to the line. But for now, though, it's going to be... Oh, my goodness. It's going to be Kelvin van der Linde who's going to scream towards these final couple of corners. He's been unstoppable when it comes to sim racing. He's got to deal with the lap traffic of Antonio Felix da Costa first. And I think back to J.R. Hildebrand here, so I'm getting a bit nervous. But here we go. Kelvin van der Linde will win race number 1 this evening for Team Redline's Real Racers Never Quit, a tribute to motorsport legends. So it's going to be Jordan Pepper coming home in second, followed by Verstappen, who will round out the podium ahead of Bent Viscal. For Verstappen, for a guy who struggled so much of these cars in practice. And there we go. I love the burnouts. I'd like to see a bigger pile up than that, though, after the race to Mill. All in a bit of fun.
Haha, yeah, that should be a lot of fun to watch. But all the drivers celebrating the end of actually quite an eventful race. And don't go anywhere, guys. We have another one coming up for you. So double the treats for you here on this lovely night that we're having over here. Oulton Park has produced a thriller of a race, and we have another one yet to go.
Yeah, certainly. So we still have some drivers coming through the field. We'll have a look at our final race results for the first race of 2 this evening. So don't leave us. There's another 13-lap event coming up, but it's Kelvin van der Linde who wasn't on pole this time around. He had a bit of drama making contact with Danny Juncadella, but he wins this race by a second and a half ahead of his fellow South African of Jordan Pepper. And Max Verstappen rounds out the podium. He was our champion for Real Racers Never Quit. The first series, this is a tribute to motorsport legends in the Lotus 79, and he's struggling in this car, but he's had a busy schedule, has the Dutchman, and that's a brilliant performance to bring it home in third. Same so can be said for Formula 3's Bent Viscal, and followed by Dennis Marshall. He'll round out the top 5. You'll see the rest of the results on screen as Robin Frijns climbs into the top 10 after starting from 20th, up 11 spots. And how about Maxime Martin, the DTM race winner, up 12 spots here in this race. So brilliant result for him. Then we cycle through the rest of the order. And how about Rene Rust and Tom Dillman after some damage for both of them earlier in the race? They'll be the final drivers on the lead lap. And for Antonio Felix da Costa, credit to him for not just pressing escape and bringing that car to the pits and retiring, because this results sheet on screen will determine the grid for the next race, which will be another 13 laps of action, Samil. It's going to take place in a minute's time. So if you've left us already, we hope you haven't. We're not going to have too big of a break, but I tell you what, for Lando Norris, who was out on the first lap, he'll be gunning that the same doesn't happen here for race 2.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for redemption for Lando Norris, and as the name suggests, Real Racers Never Quit, so this could be a chance for Lando Norris not to quit, to press on though, and try to produce a good result. One thing that would be against him, unfortunately, would be a lack of track time, because as you mentioned just a few minutes ago before the race, that Lando Norris, I think it was his first lap on this very track. I mean, his outlap that he did was the first time he ever drove on the circuit. So that thing would be against Lando Norris, but that said, Jonathan, he is a quality driver. I mean, you just don't get to Formula 1 just like that. So you have a lot of talent within you, and that is why Lando Norris is where he is at the moment. So how he adapts to a foreign car pretty much, to a foreign track pretty much so quickly is going to be one fun thing to watch. But then again, Max Verstappen as well. He didn't really have the best of track time in this car as well, but he's come in and he has produced a good race so far. Should be fun to see what happens here in the second race, which will be beginning very, very shortly. In fact, under a minute pretty much.
Well, let's take a look at the grid for this next event. Now, we heard news today that Sebastian Vettel has had a simulator delivered to his house. So I tell you what, with Nicholas Hamilton in this race, if you can hear us, Nick, can you order one for Lewis if he doesn't have one already somehow and get him in on these races? Because we'd love to see Lewis and Vettel on these as well. Don't forget Fernando Alonso, another great of Formula One. Here's the grid for race number 2. It'll be yet another rolling start here today, which I'd say Kirchhoff said he regrets behind the scenes. Probably go back to standing starts later on, but it's going to be Van der Linde, our race 1 winner from Jordan Pepper. Verstappen will start from 3rd. Bent Viscal behind on the 2nd row. So as we cycle through the order, Samil, these are your results from race number 1 that determine the grid for this second race this evening. It's going to be 13 laps of action yet again. Some notable names to look out for in this grid will be down the order, of course. Look out for Antonio Felix da Costa, who has some strong pace. And don't forget Felipe Drugovich, who will start from 18th.
Notable, come on, Jonathan, that's quite an understatement. These are some of the best racing drivers in the world. I mean, the likes of Robin Freins, Rene Rast, Tom Dillman, Antonio Felix da Costa. I mean, it is an incredible grid that we have over here. And now the formation lap is underway, and we should be beginning this race very, very shortly. Strap yourself in, guys. We're seeing some action already before the start of the race as well.
Here we go. Can't wait for it. Pepper alongside Van der Linde. Van der Linde is going to determine when this race commences. Hope you're enjoying the action. Samil Aurora alongside myself, Jonathan Simon, on the coverage for today's Team Redline's Real Racers Never Quit. And we're about to commence the second race of the evening. Here we go now for 13 laps of action around Alton Park. Leaving it very late is Van der Linde. He's got to go because iRacing's told him so. The green flag waves here for race number 2. I thought I saw 3 wide for a second. I don't even think one single car made it onto the tarmac through turn number 1. And contact down the back of the pack sees a car flying, spearing through the air into the barriers.
Well, motorsports really is a contact sport, as we see a lot of cars literally flying around in the background. Well, that was a hectic start that we saw over there. Van der Linde just making it through, and now we see Pepper under a lot of pressure. Oh, Max Verstappen is right on his tail, and Jordan Pepper is having to fend off one of the best drivers in the world at the moment. This is going to be a tough task for him as we now ride the mode with Kevin Van der Linde. And my goodness, that was an insane start. So many drivers going wide on the grass, barely anyone maintaining it on the tarmac, as we now see Verstappen fighting hard. I guess he's side by side with Jordan Pepper. Yes, that is. Pepper fends him off, and my goodness, I'm literally eating of words because I'm just too excited for this one.
How about that from Verstappen? Currently slotting himself in 3rd. Your top 3 haven't changed positions. Bent Viscal, though, has fallen to some issues and is dropped down from 4th to 13th. On the defensive here is Jordan Pepper as Verstappen tries to etch the best run all day he has here on the South African. He drove so well in the first race. Here's the first corner. Let's see if any of them take to the tarmac this time. But they don't. But that's the quickest way around there, Samil, because like I said, there's grasscrete. It's basically concrete with a bit of grass in between. So it's essentially drives like it's tarmac almost.
Well, racing drivers, they live by the meme, well, it's free real estate. If it's there, it's mine pretty much. So they make full use of the track. Every single inch of the circuit is used, and we now see some battling between Sasha Fenestras and Tom Dillman. So Dillman really needs to attack Fenestras to get into the top 6. He's around half a second behind him. But as we know with this race, cars can close up rapidly. He's using the slipstream. Dillman on the prowl. I guess he's not close enough to make a move, but maybe he will be in the space of a lap or two. We now see some 2 wide action going on there back. Oh, this is some good racing. Drivers going side by side, and one on the grass as well, and one spins out. Oh, there's been some big action back there.
That's Bent Viscal, and this is Richard Westbrook we ride on board with. And here's a replay of the 2 colliding. So this is Richard Westbrook. Oh, he's got nowhere to go. Was that a bump draft for a second almost? And so Westbrook's binned it all on his own, and I think, oh no, as Viscal just had nowhere to go. And that's put him into the wall. Now, Lando Norris is also out of the event, so we haven't seen any laps from Norris today at all. He's been taken out in both events, and unfortunately today for Lando, he's out of this one too as he tows that car virtually back to the pits.
It's a sad ending for all of Lando's fans. I mean, we see so many people gathering in the stream to watch Lando race, but I'm afraid we haven't really seen a lot of racing from him. Now though, let's get to some racing on the track. Will Stevens and Charlie Eastwood. And look at Charlie Eastwood's car. I mean, the guy is just controlling it so hard. This car, look at that. I think he has a broken suspension, if I'm not mistaken. He's just fighting so hard just to keep the car straight. And at the same time, he's trying to make an overtake. That is ridiculously daring.
Well, up ahead, I see Rene Rast and Felipe Drugovich. And a nice little scrappy they are as we ride on board with Rene Rast. And remember, Drugovich started this race from 18th. For Rene Rast, he, where did he start? I've just lost my notes. Started from 11th. So for Rene Rast, he's had minor climber positions. For Drugovich, it's been a thrilling start for the Brazilian so far. And here they go through the final corner. The slipstream in this car, Samil, what I've learned today is that it has basically drastic effects. It's very significant.
Absolutely, we've seen so many drivers in the first race using it to their advantage to try and get past. And now here we see Max Verstappen on the prowl once again, trying to make a move on Jordan Pepper. This could be his chance for this right-hander. Not close enough, nose to tail all of them. So Van der Linde, Jordan Pepper and Max Verstappen literally going side by side, and Max Verstappen has a bit of a slippery slidey moment over here. And now, Jonathan, this is the time when the slipstream really comes into effect. No. They're going straight through. Verstappen on Jordan Pepper. This could be his chance, and Jordan Pepper attacking Van der Linde as well. Oh, this is exciting. Max Verstappen sees him move down the inside but just can't execute it. Jordan Pepper blocks off the line, and Jonathan, this one is turning out to be a thriller.
How cool is that through Knickerbrook? Each car essentially in a drift. And have a look at Verstappen here alongside Jordan Pepper as they head through to Lodge Corner. And it's just not going to work around the outside as we ride on board with the Dutchman as he has a huge moment through the final corner.
Well, when Max Verstappen is around, you certainly are going to get entertainment. What a lovely slide that was for Max, just controlling the car. Now he's really on the tail of Jordan Pepper. This could really be his opportunity. Verstappen slipping and sliding around all the way through, but he is still on the tail of Pepper. He just doesn't let him go. And now Van der Linde, thanks for this battle, is just pulling out a slight gap over there, but Verstappen still on the prowl. And if Jordan Pepper looks in his mirror, all he sees is that orange car of Max Verstappen. They go side by side. Pepper blocks it off once again. They make contact slightly, but all of them are still intact. This could be his chance. Verstappen makes his move around the outside. They're going side by side, Verstappen and Jordan Pepper, nose to tail, wheel to wheel for a second, and this could be finally his chance. Verstappen moving to the outside on the grass already. Oh goodness. Pepper holds the inside line. Verstappen on the outside. Who's going to get the edge? It is. Oh, they touch. Max Verstappen is on the grass and he goes wide. Oh my goodness.
And going wide again is Dennis Marshall. And that promotes Pepper back into third. Let's watch the replay here. Very argy-bargy between these two. Oh, I mean, only separated by a matter of inches there. And then have a look at this. Verstappen defending very late there on Dennis Marshall. You just can't go too wide through Knickerbrook. I'm done, man. That is one of the greatest saves I've seen today. Oh my God. I mean, if that was real life, Samil, you wouldn't jump into a race car ever again.
That would be a traumatic experience, that one, as we now take a look at it from the point of view of Dennis Marshall. And just look at that. That is so close. I mean, Jordan Pepper, the poor guy, he just went so wide over there. He was having such a good race. And now Marshall on the grass as well, being passed by Pepper. Oh man, is there a better way to spend a Friday night? Apart from going to the club, going to the pub? I don't think so.
Oh, going to the club, yeah, why not? As we see some light traffic there.
I can't, at least for the next 3 years.
Well, here we go. Verstappen is attacking this man on screen, Kelvin Van der Linde, who's remained untouched really in most of these Team Redline races. And I would have loved to see the New Zealander of Shane Van Gisbergen here too.
Oh, that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely the early hours of the morning, though, in New Zealand. So tough for him to wake up for those. As we begin yet another lap. We're about almost halfway through this race. Lap 7 of 13. As we watch the scraps continue. So the race so far is turning out to be Van der Linde ahead of Verstappen. That's your scrap for the lead. Jordan Pepper still remains close after his fight with Verstappen. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, Dennis Marshall too is also close for that podium position. Then behind, brilliant performances from Harry Tincknell. And let's not forget Will Stevens, as we see a battle here alongside each other. Are Bent Viscal and Francesco Castellacci. They're battling for 8th and 9th. And I'll tell you what, brilliant performance so far from Will Stevens.
Yeah, Will Stevens has had a tremendous drive today. I mean, he's just such an underrated driver. But now let's focus on Ben Viscal and Castellacci. This battle is getting really, really hot here. Ben Viscal, I mean, you just can't take the man out of the action. Wherever you see him, whenever you watch him, he's always in the midst of a battle. It's incredible, this innate ability that Ben Viscal has of being in a battle. But so does Will Stevens and so does Ferdinand Habsburg. Habsburg now trying to go down the inside. This could be a clean and clear pass for him. And Ferdinand Habsburg makes the move into P6 and he is well and truly into the top 6 with that move. So good, calm and collected move by Habsburg, but Will Stevens is still fighting back once again. Oh, they're getting really close there and Habsburg is having to defend very, very hard. As we now take a look at this onboard of Will Stevens, he is of course a 24 Hours on Le Mans GTE winner and of course a Sebring 12 Hours winner as well. And Habsburg, the young chap from Austria, is really having to defend hard from Will Stevens because Will Stevens is on his tail. Now we're going to start another lap and now Will Stevens goes down the inside. This could be his chance there, wheel to wheel. Who gets the edge? It's Will Stevens.
Oh, what a brave move from the 28-year-old. He's going to have to defend here, though. As Habsburg Lothringen is going to... It's a bit of a handful trying to say Ferdinand's name. But there you go. They're fighting for the 6th position. And I think Stevens has got this. Here's a replay of the move. So there is Stevens going for the inside line. Good decision from the former Caterham F1 driver. And a very respectful driving between the two. I think that might be the most respectful scrap all day. And it's going to continue here on the run down the back straight.
Let's have a look whether this is as respectful as the last time, isn't it? Oh, that's a clean and clear pass once again. What's this? I mean, these guys are just respecting each other so well. They're just giving them all the room and like, yes, sir, all for you. Now we're out on board with Ferdinand Habsburg defending out from Will Stevens. This is turning out to be a good battle. It's keeping us entertained and it will certainly keep us entertained for a long, long time. I think now Habsburg is now starting to pull away and Will Stevens, if you look closely, has a slightly damaged front wing. So Habsburg will have a bit of an edge in that regard, but still, we know Will Stevens, he's a quality driver. And looking at Habsburg sliding it on, it's going to be a tough task. We now see two other guys battling it out as well. Jonathan, what's this all about?
So this is Harry Tincknell versus Dennis Marshall, I believe. Yes, it is. Hard to identify these drivers in new cars and plain liveries, but here we go. So this is through... Was that through the Cascades, I think, at turn 3? Oh, and there's Marshall just losing that spot after an error. And now I think they're still alongside each other in live shots, so we'll keep following this. This is... Well, here's the live shot now on screen. An undercut there from Dennis Marshall. Trying to search for every inch of space he can find. He'll have to form up here through the final few corners, but whilst these two scraps, we saw Habsburg Lothringen and Will Stevens behind. Let's not forget, Samil, those two behind started on the 10th and 11th rows on the grid. That was down in 20th and 21st.
Well, if that doesn't give you an idea about how hectic this race has been, I don't think anything will. Now we take a look at Dennis Marshall chasing Harry Tincknell. Oh, he doesn't really have a lot of time left, only 3 laps, but we have seen time and again, 3 laps could be more than enough. And look at Ferdinand Habsburg. He has gained 15 places. That is insane. What a tremendous race it has been for him so far. And Ferdinand Habsburg, well, he's had the most hectic race that he could ever have in his life, and so has Nicholas Hamilton. He's in P11. Oh, now we look at this battle heating up really well. Harry Tincknell is really having to defend extremely hard here. So Tincknell defending from Dennis Marshall, and this battle just keeps on going on. Marshall now looking up for a move. Oh, he goes wide, goes to the outside. He's lining up a move now. This is going to be a tricky place to pass around the outside, but if he can get his nose ahead, it could be a true opportunity. Marshall around the outside and gets it done clean and clear.
Well, hopefully clean. We don't know how the exit's going to go. as we watch the replay. And I tell you what, I'm getting some messages behind the scenes here of people who are absolutely loving this, enjoying the action of some of the world's best talent. And I hope we still get more coming through over the next few weeks. You know, we do hope this dire situation in the world ends safely and soundly and as soon as possible. But virtual racing can fill a void, Samil, as we watch onboard action here with Bent Viscal on Will Stevens. Virtual racing can fill a void in the real motorsport world when there's the off-season in motorsport, as Viscal makes the move here for 7th. It can fill a void in the off-season when there's no racing. You know, a lot of motorsports fans are starved for action, and there's nothing to watch during a December-January period, apart from a few series.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was a bit skeptical about sim racing. I thought, yeah, it's just virtual, it's not so much fun. But man, the moment I've been starting to watch this, it has been an incredible journey. The kind of races that we have seen in the iRacing community, well, it has been absolutely insane. So guys, even if you're bored at home, if you have nothing to do, just drive on iRacing. And if you're not driving on iRacing, log into one of our races. It should be a lot of fun to watch on the iRacing Esports Network. Will Stevens now in P8. This could be his chance to try and make a move on Bent Viscal. And Bent Viscal, man, he has been in a battle ever since the race has begun. He just seems to be all across everywhere. I mean, Bent Viscal just has this unique ability of being embroiled in a scrap pretty much in every point of the race. So Will Stevens is now on his tail, and now we see a battle going on. Is that the one involving Harry Tincknell and Marshall?
Yes, it is. Here we go into turn number 1. This is the penultimate lap of the race. Van der Linde still leads ahead of Max Verstappen. And it's Jordan Pepper in the 3rd position. And so this is a replay. Let's see what's going on here between the two. Surely a position change. And yes, it was. So Dennis Marshall back up ahead here for the 4th position. Are they still alongside each other? That's some good scrapping going on through the final corner. And then through Deer Leap. So again, that's Harry Tincknell being passed by Dennis Marshall. Kelvin van der Linde, though, is approaching the final lap of the race here. It's been another splendid drive from him, and he's on board towards 2 race wins here today, Samil. Every time I jump in for a Team Redline event, it seems to be Kelvin van der Linde in P1.
Well, just shows you the quality of the man. Now Kelvin van der Linde in the lead and trying to make it a South African double pretty much. Van der Linde winning in the first race and in the second one. But for now, Will Stevens is again in a battle, and Will Stevens is now fighting against Sasha Fenestras for P8. Fenestras now trying to attack. He seems to have the better car, has the edge, goes down the inside. All simple for Fenestras, moves up into P8. And if I'm not mistaken there, I mean, looking at how easily Will Stevens conceded that position, I think he must have some damage on his car, if I'm not mistaken. He just seems to have a damaged front wing, but...
Just remember, he might have some damage. I think you're spot on with that, but also he did make up a lot of positions on the opening lap due to others' misfortune, so he might just not have the pace, you know? So it might just be his result in the early laps might have been inflated by everyone else's misfortune. But here we go now to begin the final lap. This is Kelvin van der Linde we ride on board with. 2 race wins out of 2, Samil, and it's one that I'm sure van der Linde will take to his grave.
Yeah, Kelvin van der Linde will be extremely satisfied with what he's done today. I mean, he's driven so professionally, so cleanly. He has been the driver of the day by far and away. Van der Linde dominating this race weekend. Oh, he just slides around a little bit, and he's entertaining us with his driving style as well. So Kelvin van der Linde cruising across to take his victory.
Here we go. Well, what a day it's been for the South African. He will win a tribute to motorsports legends, race number 2 for Team Redline's Real Racers Never Quit. What a day it's been for our official Team Redline driver. He does race for the team away from these special events. And how about this between himself and Max Verstappen, who came home in 2nd. And I could watch this all day as these two begin to drift at the end of the race. It was Jordan Pepper who will round out the podium after starting on the front row. What a race it was from Pepper as Verstappen mows the lawn here in these British classic racetracks. For Dennis Marshall and Harry Tincknell, they'll finish in 4th and 5th respectively. But how do we wrap this one up, Samil? That was a little bit of everything. I'm a little disappointed. I would have loved to see more Lando Norris in there and a bit more of Danny Juncadella, but we'll speak to them after the race, and we'll speak to Antonio Felix da Costa too, because it was a chaotic one for sure.
What more can you ask for? I mean, apart from Lando Norris having a good race, I think we had everything in this weekend. Incredible racing here at the Oulton Park circuit. I mean, I just loved every single minute of it. Incredible one. And Jonathan, I guess this has to be one of the more entertaining races that I've commentated on. Definitely.
Yeah, it was a thrilling one for sure. So let's have a look at your final race results for race number 2 this evening. So Kelvin van der Linde, race winner, and the South African driving ever so well. He will finish on top ahead of Max Verstappen, who was finding it a bit of a struggle in this car, but the 23-year-old will score a podium for himself and have a bit of fun on his way out of the grid here. We'll have a chat to him after the race for sure, let him know how his event went. For Jordan Pepper, a very impressive result for 2 South Africans on the podium. It's been a while since I've ever said that, and it's great to see the country represented, real or simulator. For Dennis Marshall and Harry Ticknell, they rounded out the top 5. We'll look at a few other notable names. For Will Stevens, it was a brilliant event. After taking advantage of a lot of incidents in the opening laps, he climbed his way up into the top 7 and slowly demoted himself down to 9th, but still had some good pace to keep it clean. And outside the top 10, it was Nicholas Hamilton, who, brother of Lewis Hamilton, drove so well, up 15 spots from 26th to 11th in this race. The 13th row for Hamilton. And both he and Robin Freins drove well today. Robin Freins finished a couple of laps down due to damage, but still brought it home. So our other Dutch driver in the field will be proud of that one for sure. And behind there were a multitude of DNFs, including Felipe Drogovic, Rene Rast, Tom Dillman as well. Didn't see much of Dillman today, the former Formula 2 driver. Augustin Canapino had promising pace, but had incidents in both race number 1 and the second race. And same can be said for Lando Norris, the McLaren Formula 1 driver, who, as it says on screen, recently shaved his hair for charity. And it's still trying to get used to him with a shaved head, but I'm sure we will in a few moments' time. It'll probably grow back by the time we get used to him. And then down the order, we see Job van Udert behind Richard Westbrook. Franco Colapinto as well had some very impressive pace, the Spanish Formula 4 champion from last season. And DS Techeetah Formula E driver Antonio Felix da Costa fell foul to some bent steering at the beginning of this race. Now, I think is a good time to head down and have a chat to some of these guys. So let's jump down first.
I mean, you would be stupid.
To me or to you?
No, to you.
Oh, all right.
To you.
Guys, can I interrupt and remind you you're live? So let's not get in trouble and say anything wrong.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm live on Twitch, so don't worry.
Yeah, I'm live as well, so you know.
Well, Max, we started with you last time. Let's start with you first this time. I wish we got to speak to Antonio, but he's gone too quickly. But for you, man, you got used to the car every single lap you drove out there. A brilliant 2 races.
Yeah, it got better and better. I found out that I had to stay in 4th gear instead of upshifting to 5th, and that immediately gave me half a second. So that was a lot more than I thought it would do. But yeah, it was good. I mean, it's not what I want, being P3 and P2, but it's still better than nothing.
Is that the fixed setup in the car causing that issue, or is it just the car, the way it behaves?
No, it's just because I've been lazy today with practice, so I didn't. I was setting up my new PC, and I have to practice for that Porsche Esports Super Cup as well, so I'm a bit limited with this. And then, sometimes watching a series is also not bad instead of being on the simulator the whole day. So that's what I did. And then I jumped in here. I didn't know Oulton Park, but it's actually a really cool track, especially with these cars where you have a lot of grip. So yeah, it was a lot of fun again. I didn't really see what happened behind me, but it looked like half the field died after the first lap. Lando, can you maybe comment on that? What happened?
Sorry, I was not listening.
Okay, but anyway, yeah, it was good. These cars are a lot of fun to drive.
Well, final thing, Max. We're trying to get you back into supercars here for the Mount Panorama round. Surely you're going to give up your World Championship license for Porsche, and you're going to come back to us for supercars.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, but I still need to find some pace as well to really fight for victories. So
is it next weekend?
Well, this Wednesday evening. I think that's like
Oh, this
Wednesday
Wednesday
morning.
is
for
the
you guys.
Supercars, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to get you in Lando soon.
Yeah,
as well.
Lando's good in V8, so
Well, maybe I'm doing
send it.
All right. Well, Lando, for your race, I tell you what, that was by far the most we've ever seen you out on track. It was by far more than you've done for pre-season testing in Formula One.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how many laps I completed in total. Let me have a quick look. Because, all right.
It
Race
says
one I
minus
completed
11.
one.
Or rather, how many meters?
So
Actually,
I
Lando,
never
that
got
was-
I never got past lap 2 basically. In any of the races, or
Strong
qualifying
performance.
or the practice. So it's been a good evening. I've enjoyed watching, to be honest, and being a spotter for the drivers.
Oh. Well, as I said, you could have got a trundle wheel out and measured how many laps you completed there, because it was
Yep.
a very, very unfortunate race. But in all seriousness, not the way you want to be spending your evening, of course. I know it's all in a bit of fun, but you do want to be racing. You seem to be falling foul to either tech issues or some accidents.
Yeah, I'm known for tech issues nowadays. Although I don't know why people call me a tech nerd, but I get a lot of issues.
But Lando, how
yeah.
many PCs have you used so far? I think I'm definitely breaking that record.
Oh yeah, you've definitely got that. But I mean, I've got 6 here, backed up, ready to go.
Oh yeah, you got your 90k PC, right?
Yeah, my PC
yeah.
costs 90k. I got a new one coming. It's 220k. It's got 17 graphics cards in, but
My goodness.
no, I mean, yeah, we're here for fun, and it's for a good cause again. I'm still trying to raise donations myself for the Race for the World and COVID-19 for the United Nations Foundation. So I still get to watch, and I still watching the other drivers race, and trying to hit the sub goal. Not the sub goal, the donation goal. But yeah.
So guys, keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up.
Lando is a
reached
great
our
dude,
goal,
so-
to be honest, we've reached our goal. But yeah,
And
no,
where
I'd
can they
rather-
donate?
Whether on my stream.
Okay.
I mean, we've hit what is it, $25,251, and as a team between a few of us drivers, we've hit something like 75,000, I think now, 73,000, which is yeah, I think better than we thought we were going to do. So yeah, I mean, I'm still having fun. Of course, I would love to race and go for the win and stuff, but I'm still having a lot of fun.
And Max, talking about charities, it was brilliant for SVG, for Pastor Maldonado on Wednesday too.
No, not Maldonado. It's just Pastor.
Oh, it's just Pastor. Okay.
Yeah. We just call each other Pastor.
Yeah.
Well, I call him Pastor. He calls me Mark.
So I was going to say, he also got to take his winnings from the Supercars E-Series race to charity as well for Wings for Life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we both had Wings for Life selected. So yeah, for us to finish first and second, it was great at the end of the day. And any contribution we can do, it's of course amazing. So we'll definitely keep it up, and I hope that Shane can do it again in Bathurst.
Yeah, 100%. So he'll be
I'm
gunning
going to
for
beat
that
him,
for
but
sure.
yeah.
Okay, you also donate then to Wings for Life, please, mate.
I put all my money into my United Nations Foundation, so I got nothing.
Okay, all right. Half, maybe. Can we split it?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, we'll talk about it.
Anything else before we go? Anything else to plug? Nothing else?
Did you guys enjoy it? I'm
Yeah.
asking a question now.
Totally, man. That was some of the. This car's got to make a comeback. Yeah.
I mean,
Max,
these
the kind
cars
of
look
racing that you
brutal.
had.
These cars are super fun to drive.
Did you
So,
see
like,
my
what the-
drifting? It was
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
not. It was maybe not very fast, but at least it was good for the broadcast. I hope.
Yeah, and
Well-
the kind of battle you had with Jordan over there. Oof, that was mad.
Yeah, basically because he was there, he saved me. So. Yeah. Well.
The fast right-hander, the one at the end of the back straight, it's called Knickerbrook, turn 12. That one, well, you probably wouldn't know the corner names because you just learnt the circuit, but
I know it's a
that
fast
one-
right-hander. Yeah.
yeah, that one was.
Isn't that
Man,
where
like-
you took that guy off, Max?
Which one? I don't remember.
There's a few, was there?
I don't remember, mate. What you're talking about?
All right, I'll review the replay.
What do you mean there is no replay? It's
That's what it is for me.
a case closed.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Session's
yeah.
finished.
No,
Okay.
I'd say message me and said that there's nothing to review. So I don't. He's
Yeah,
probably paid him
I
behind the scenes.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
you know.
I
yeah,
agree.
right.
Actually, I'm watching it now, and I'm not the one turning in.
You didn't turn in.
Yeah, I think it's just a
Yeah.
very unfortunate incident, to be honest, when you look at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say about it.
Well, I so totally wish we could speak for hours on end, but we'll leave you guys to it for sure. Surely back again for the next Redline event, whenever that will take place.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know what it
Absolutely.
is, but something's in the pipeline. So yeah, cheers guys for the stream and then doing everything you do again, and hopefully see you all very soon.
100%. Yeah. So I'm sure Dom and the team behind the scenes are working hard, but we'll leave you guys to it. We'll jump back up to the commentary booth here and we'll say so long to Max Verstappen. And we're just waiting for Samil to jump in. There he is, Samil Aurora, back into the commentary booth. Now, Samil, what a race it was. And man, as much as I love the racing, I do enjoy those post-race chats between the guys. The chemistry is off the rails.
Oh yeah, it really is. I mean, sitting in just different corners of the world, you can still chat with each other, have a good time on the streams. It's incredible. I mean, speaking to these guys and the kind of insights that they give you and the kind of fun that they have on the broadcast as well, it's unparalleled pretty much. It's a lot of fun. Definitely.
Certainly. So we don't know when this next event's going to take place, but Team Redline is always hard behind the scenes, or hard at work behind the scenes, putting together all these great events. So we hope you've been enjoying the action. So your world's best talent will certainly be back racing again around another track and car combination that we don't know. But for next time, we hope you enjoy the coverage from our RaceBot TV team, from Will Vincent behind the scenes, from myself, Jonathan Simon, alongside Samil Aurora in the commentary booth. And let's not forget to thank, of course, Istvan Bello for his track cams for gourmets, as it's known. I love the name too, for his brilliant work on track cameras. Most of all, follow me on Twitter too. I'm at Johnny S8. Samil's also on his social media channels. For now, though, we'll say goodbye from the virtual Alton Park. Please do keep Sir Sterling Moss in your prayers, and please stay safe during this tough period in the world. But for now, we'll say so long.